Okay, I'd like to start with why are we even here again? We were here a few weeks ago, and why are we here today, and what do we hope to accomplish? So we're going to review a little bit about what the Book of Discipline is. I know you've probably all heard of that. Some of you are very familiar with it. Some of you may have not be as familiar and just know it exists. So the Book of Discipline constitutes the law and doctrine of the United Methodist Church. It is in line with the Bible. Now in 1972, the General Conference altered and amended the Book of Discipline with the language, "We do not condone the practice of homosexuality and consider this practice incompatible with Christian teaching." The Book of Discipline prohibits the ordination of practicing self-avowed homosexuals, forbids clergy from blessing same-sex unions, forbids the use of United Methodist Church facilities for same-sex union ceremonies, and prohibits the use of church funds for gay caucuses or other groups that promote the acceptance of homosexuality. The Book of Discipline states homosexual persons, no less than heterosexuals, are individuals of sacred worth. Both groups are included in the ministry of the church and can receive the gift of God's grace. The Book of Discipline defines marriage as a union between one man and one woman. Now in 1972, when that wording was put into the Book of Discipline, almost immediately there was some disagreement about whether that should be in, whether that change should stay in, and whether it should be out. This has continued over the years and has created a lot of problems within the church, a lot of uncomfortable conversations. And one of the things that Methodists feel is important is to do no harm. And there has been a lot of harm over the years with this topic. It has come up in front of the General Conference several times before to be voted on whether to remove the language or not. So far it has not been removed. It's anticipated this will be brought up again in 2024. And at that time, the General Conference members will vote to see if this verbiage will be removed or if once again it'll stay in. So that's why we're here today, is because there has been a lot of problems with the verbiage. The important thing to know is that in the bullet point that says all people, homosexual or heterosexual, are individuals of sacred worth. Both groups are included in the ministry of the church and can receive the gift of God's grace. And I think that's very important to keep that in mind.
Thank you, Carol. Carol and I are here this morning as representatives of the Church Council. The Church Council has been working through this for several months now. We began in the summer, and first we had to educate ourselves on this whole topic. And once we had an understanding of it all, we began to put together the materials that we shared with you at the last meeting and we are sharing with you today. What happens if we disaffiliate from the United Methodist Church or leave the United Methodist Church? And what happens if we choose to remain a United Methodist Church? If we remain a United Methodist Church, we continue to follow the Book of Discipline as it is currently written, with the understanding that the language may change as a result of the 2024 General Conference vote. We would then follow the United Methodist Church Book of Discipline with the revised language. Obviously, we do not know what is going to happen at the 2024 General Conference. We do not know what that language may look like as a result of that gathering in 2024. This has been postponed a couple of times due to the pandemic and such, so this has been going on for a period of time. What happens if we disaffiliate or leave the United Methodist Church? We could join another branch of the Methodist Church, such as the Global Methodist Church, the Free Methodist Church, or some other branch of the Methodist Church. We could join another denomination, or we could become an independent church. Okay, those are all options that would be on the table for us should we choose to disaffiliate or leave the United Methodist Church. The straw vote today gives direction to the church council, to the leadership of the church, as to how you, the members of the church, wish to proceed. That is the purpose of our straw poll today, to get an idea of how the membership feels, which direction are the members of this church trending toward? What would they like to see? If we were to go to a vote, it would require a 2/3 majority vote of members present, and that's important. It would have to be members present at that meeting, which would be the district superintendent or a representative of the district superintendent would be present, and we would then have a vote that would be taken as to whether we wish to remain United Methodist Church or we wish to disaffiliate or leave. We would then have to pay our shared ministries, amount of monies that we pay to the conference in full for 12 months and 12 months on top of that. We would also be responsible to pay any unfunded pension liabilities. And that's important because retired clergy, we want to make sure that retired clergy have those pension funds available. With some churches choosing to disaffiliate or leave, there are going to be many changes. We don't know what those changes will be at this point. There could be changes in the structure of the broader church at the district level, at the conference level. Part of that may be dependent upon how many churches choose to remain United Methodist, how many churches choose to disaffiliate or leave. It goes beyond our local church here. But it is important to keep in mind that they want to make sure the conference and higher up bodies want to make certain that those monies are in the pension fund for retired clergy. We would be required to remove all signage, anything that says United Methodist, anything with the cross and flame symbol, hymnals, the sign in the front of the church, anything that has United Methodist, we would have to remove. We would be allowed to retain the building. As some of you may be aware, if a church dissolves or closes for whatever reason, under normal circumstances, the church building goes to the conference. There is an exception here that says if you choose to disaffiliate or leave the United Methodist Church, you may retain your building and the contents of the building. Again, with the exception of anything with the United Methodist logo on it. Any transfer of the property would be made prior to the disaffiliation. We would be required to hire an attorney. The attorney would work with us through all of the legalities of it with the conference. The current estimated cost for us to disaffiliate or leave is just a little above $200,000. We have gotten that from the conference treasurer. That amount would likely be a little bit more than that at the time of disaffiliation, should we choose to do that. We have a window of time. Once we announce our decision, we would then have a window of time in which to complete all of the necessary requirements. And then that would be voted upon, and then we would officially be no longer part of the United Methodist Church. We would be whatever group we have chosen to go, if we choose to disaffiliate. If we choose to remain a United Methodist Church, and this vote today will guide the leadership of the church as to the direction all of you folks choose to go, we would continue to be a United Methodist Church. We would continue to move forward with the ministry and mission of our church. And we would wait to see what happens at the General Conference in 2024. Again, we don't know what will happen at General Conference in 2024. We don't know what the revised language will look like, if there is revised language. What we do know is that we need to decide how we, as a congregation, as a local United Methodist Church, move forward. And that is what we are here to do today. Those of you who are present today have that opportunity to decide if you wish to remain a United Methodist Church or you wish to disaffiliate or leave the United Methodist Church. If the decision were to leave, that would put in motion many, many moving pieces, as we said, to help us along that road of disaffiliation with guidance from the conference, the Northern New York Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. Now, we have ballots here, and I'm going to read the ballots to you so that you are very clear as to what you are voting on. Okay? And then we will have questions if you have any. This is a yes or no ballot. Yes, we want to stay with the United Methodist Church. Voting yes means we want to stay in the United Methodist Church and be faithful to the Book of Discipline and the doctrines of the UMC, both now and in the future. Okay, so we're taking the Book of Discipline as it is written now. We remain faithful to it. The yes vote means that if it is changed, we will be faithful to the new language as it is written at the 2024 General Conference. No, we would like to continue to explore disaffiliating with the United Methodist Church. Voting no does not mean we are leaving the United Methodist Church. It means we will continue having discussions and exploring if we want to, as a church, leave the United Methodist Church. If we decide in the future to leave, there will be a binding vote. Okay? Again, that's the 2/3 vote required of members with the district superintendent or a representative of the district superintendent at a meeting where that vote would be taken and the 2/3 majority would be required to leave. Today's vote is a simple majority of those present to gauge where all of us stand on this very important issue. Are there any questions? Ruth?
Carl, if they, let's say you left and you went with Global, don't they have the same rules about homosexuals?
In that they accept or do not accept, or?
Do not accept to be like what it says in there about the
Yes.
ministers?
The Global United Methodist Church is not, the reason that the United Methodists are leaving is because they disagree with the language about homosexuality, about gay marriage in the church, about gay clergy. They have the equivalent of a book of discipline that has been put together, and the language in that guiding document for the Global Methodist Church states that they do not condone homosexuality, gay marriage. Yes.
What about the Free Methodist Church?
I am not sure what they have what their doctrine looks like in the Free Methodist Church, to be honest with you.
Now, if we were to disaffiliate, and they want that, the pension things for the retired pastors, and if a lot of churches leave, then the only churches that are gonna be paying these pastors will be the ones that didn't disaffiliate, so that's gonna cost a ton of money to every church.
There's going to be a lot of changes, as I said, Elaine, yes. The size of districts may increase, based on X number of churches disaffiliating or leaving. It's already happening to some extent with the shortage of clergy and with the shortage of, clergy at all levels, including the DSs and such. Some district superintendents are now, responsible for more than one district. We are part of the Mohawk district, which is based here at our church. The Mohawk district could be changed, it could be, made larger. Maybe we would have, Cindy as the administrative assistant here, and another administrative assistant in another district with a district superintendent covering more than one district. Those are all things that are unknowns at this point, as churches do as we're doing now and begin to make those decisions as to whether they wish to remain a United Methodist Church or they wish to disaffiliate or leave.
Just one other thing. Currently, we are doing shared ministry and unfunded pension liabilities. That's a promise that we make as a church to fund those. So that isn't really new. Our church is currently promised to do those two areas.
No, I understand it, but if there's a lot of churches that leave, then the churches that don't leave are gonna have more put on them to make sure these funds are in there for these retired ministers.
Potentially,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I'm saying.
But at the same time, we don't know what all of the ministers in each of the churches, what their decision will be also.
Yeah. Will reduction of staff at the conference level balance that out? Will it not balance it out? There are many, many unknowns here. Bill?
Do they know roughly what month the conference will be in 2024 for that vote? Is it January or December? Any idea? When do they generally?
I think Pastor
It's like the
David.
pastor is trying to find out for us.
Okay, how many members are in our church?
Joyce, can you answer that approximately at this point?
I cannot give you an approximate number. I have one membership list that has over 400 people. However, there are people on there that are deceased, people that have left, have moved out of the state. I do not have a current membership list.
So that's got to be.
We've been.
Well, part of it is, it's the members that are present. So
Okay.
those of you who are members,
Well, we only have 400 here, that's for sure.
No.
correct, but it's the members that are present at this meeting that we're talking about,
Okay,
not the membership at large. You can't phone in a vote or write down a vote and send it into the church
No
office. It's
proxy.
during the meeting.
Yeah, during the past several months, Joyce has been working and Pastor Dave has been working on updating that list, getting that list as accurate as we can, because yes, if we were to have a vote, every member would be notified through multiple means to have every opportunity to be here to participate in that vote requiring the 2/3 majority.
For the stewardship campaign, or the pledges that we did this morning, we sent out about 210 letters. Some of those were to people that we haven't seen. Granted, so far I think as of Thursday, I had 9 of those letters returned where people have moved, and we had no idea. How many more there's gonna be, I don't know. But the goal is eventually, and just bear with my slowness, that we can get an accurate list.
We are doing due diligence to get that, and Joyce has been doing a great job with it. Thank you, Joyce. Ruth?
When it says, join another denomination, do you mean like Presbyterian? Or
Yes,
whatever?
we would have to go through the whole process. If we wish to join another denomination, we would have to approach that denomination, make that intention known, and then we would see whether they would be willing to, accept us into that denomination or what would happen from there. But
So you'd have to follow their rules.
you would then follow the book of the discipline or the equivalent of whatever denomination you were going in. You would have a pastor from that denomination, and yes.
And individuals can decide if they choose to go elsewhere also. It doesn't have to be everyone from the church. You have a
April
date.
23rd to May 3rd.
April 23rd to May 3rd of 2024 is when the general conference is meeting.
So,
I just Googled Free Methodist and it's conservative.
I think the disaffiliation options tend to be more conservative, but you would have to look at each one if you were thinking about going towards one of those, which is why Carl said there'd be still a lot of work to do if disaffiliation was the choice.
What's the time frame if we decide to disaffiliate? It's 3 months or?
Once you declare that you want to disaffiliate, at this time, it's a 3 to 6 month time period to get everything accomplished that needs to be done, including the 200,000 plus to accomplish that.
any other questions?
You've done a lot of work, we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much for your time.
Been a learning process, but we have learned along the way, and we felt that it was time to get folks' opinions on this and see where people are at this point. So thank you all for being here. Yep, okay, we are going to come around with the ballots. Again, they are secret ballots. We are also going to count the ballots here.
One question?
Yes,
Teresa has a question.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you back there. Who had a question? Teresa?
So the estimated cost is 200,000, so what kind of shape is the church in to be able to do that?
It would be a struggle. It would be a struggle. It would basically wipe out our finances if we were to pay that $200,000. And that's just to the conference. We would then have to think of things such as, what are we going to do with the signage out on Genesee Street? What are we going to do for hymnals? We can no longer use the music that we're using. All those incidental expenses would come into play with that as well if we were to disaffiliate.
Carl,
Cynthia?
I know that $200,000 sounds like a lot of money, but we shouldn't concentrate on the money aspect of it, really. Pastor has mentioned that to us in church council. We just shouldn't concentrate on the money part of it.
Right. Follow your hearts, follow your desires here. Do what you are being called to do. Okay?
Is there any indication, excuse me,
Yes, Kim?
is there any indication as to how the general conference vote will go?
You know, there are some trends. I'm glad you asked that. There are trends as far as the appointment of district superintendents and bishops and things, and they are tending to lean more toward the fact that there would be changes at General Conference by and large. It's their trends. That's all we can say at this point in watching people who are being appointed at the conference level, the district level. You know, we're going to have a new district superintendent come July 1. We're going to have a new bishop come January 1.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces here.
And Cynthia is right, you don't want to base it purely on financials, but you need to be aware that if you do want to disaffiliate and keep the church and have different, it won't be United Methodist Church, it is a cost factor of
Fold it.
around 200,000. So it should be the only thing you think about, but it's also reality.
I also look at, I want to keep our pastors away.
If you would like to fold
I don't
your
wanna
ballots so that they are truly secret, feel free to do so, or turn them over. I'm not going to look. You need things to write with.
That's my next question. Are we gonna know the straw vote
You are.
results today?
If you would like to stay for 5 minutes, yes, we're
Or
going
you can
to
tell us next?
We're going to do it right now here. We want to be as transparent as possible.
Just fold your ballot, please.
The general conference is worldwide.
Yes, the general conference is worldwide, which is why it's been postponed because of the pandemic.
Right. And, there's a lot of countries where there's some countries that.
Thank you.
Homosexuality is against the law.
Yes.
So what are the chances of things changing?
Different countries have different customs, different Yeah, traditions, this is worldwide, so yeah, it's,
Really based on the, it's in a sense, the numbers of representatives of, let's say, Africa, Korea, some of those places as compared to those from inside the United States. In the United States, we have one gay bishop, we had another one elected. We were almost at a point where we had another one elected. So even though the Book of Discipline says that isn't, so we don't have that as a basis, because each area is doing the same discussions we're doing now,
No, we have to be ministry and worse than that.
because it's against the Book of Discipline.
I understand that. But
If you don't follow the Book of Discipline in any one spot, there's no difference between this and some other organization. Well, they haven't, and that's why we say there's trends.
in other words, they're inconsistent.
Well, there's always hope.
Did you hear about the Senate making a vote after Thanksgiving? It's called the Respect for Marriage Act. And Biden and his, in the Senate are going to make some decision, legal binding, whether churches should have gay marriage, Christian churches,
Yep.
and that you can lose your tax exempt status if you go against it, things like that. There's a lot to it. If you want to Google it, Respect for the Marriage Act. And they're going to make up the Senate vote, and it's going to affect our decisions. It's going to mess it all up. We're trying to do it in our own manner. Now you got Congress.
We mess everything up with the ones that are running.
Congress is going to get you all.
Nothing new, what you say it was called.
Respect for Marriage Act. So no matter what we do, we might end up, they might try to break up the Catholic Church.
My guess is that won't happen.
That would happen.
Would not happen.
Is there anyone else who has not voted who wishes to vote? Okay. We will wait just a little bit here, folks. We have everything else tallied, so we will be on our way shortly here. And the snow is picking up.
Vote by denominations. You're gonna have trouble forcing it.
Okay, we have a question.
Especially in the Eastern.
Okay, we have a question.
Yes. Good. Good.
And that's why this conversation is going on. Because they tried to form regions initially, and that failed because people said the United Methodist Church.
let's call for coffee before I get you.
I mean, it's happening in every denomination across the board.
Or we could then say we don't make some changes in 2024. However, we don't know if we want to do the church special area 25, which is a very special. You want another one? Okay.
Any other ballots?
Okay, we have the results of the straw ballot. Again, this is to help direct our church council and leaders to know what direction the church would move in. And at this meeting, the straw ballot has 17 for yes and 9 for no. The important thing to remember is that we are still an open, welcoming church of people of all, as it said in the book of discipline that no less, homosexuals, no less than heterosexuals, are individuals of sacred worth. Both groups are included in the ministry of this church and can receive the gift of God's grace. So I hope that people are able to continue to feel good about their membership here at the church and all that we do. I think I saw a hand, yes.
So is yes to disabilitate or to remain?
Yes, Carl had gone over that. The yes means we want to stay with the United Methodist Church. If you want one of the unmarked ballots so that you can refer to what yes and no mean, there's some blank ones up here.
And again, it's just giving direction in the church council. It's not decided by today. That's what we should pursue.
Yeah, so many wonderful things are happening in this church with mission and ministry and worship. We really want to continue our focus on all of the wonderful, good, positive things that are happening here and not get totally tied up in our decision-making process as to whether we remain United Methodist or not. So we thank you all for coming. The snow is coming down even harder. Gary?
Not to, I don't want to rely on my mathematical prowess, but 2/3, does the 19 or 17 represent 2/3?
This is not a 2/3. This was a simple majority. 2/3 would be if we were to have the actual vote. Okay, and as I stated earlier, this vote today was a simple majority. And a straw poll. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.